the Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 567, our top 5 games with modular boards.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
Meeple Nation Podcast is sponsored by GameToppersLLC.com. Create an amazing game night every night with your Game Topper. Goes on any table, makes your game night awesome. Be the talk of the town. Go to GameToppersLLC.com.
Welcome to the Meeple Nation Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Douglas Stewart.
I'm Nathan Howard.
And we are once again down an Andrew, who is still recovering from an illness.
That's sickness. What goes around stays at Andy's house.
Yeah, well, it definitely knocked us down when we had it. So I get it. My heart goes out to him, and hopefully he'll be better very soon. Meeple Nation has a website. We are the world's okayest podcast, and we have the world's okayest website. So go check it out at meeplenation.com, where you can listen to past episodes, learn more about us, check out the socials, and click on that Patreon link to become a patron of the show. And as always, we love to hear from everyone, so drop us a line at meeplenation@gmail.com.
Well, Doug, tapping my watch, it is Highlight 30.
Love Highlight 30.
I'm pretty excited about a game, so I just want to jump right into this game.
Go for it.
This actually, now that I'm excited, I have another game I want to talk about too, but I'm going to stick with this one that I'm
talk about them both.
Okay.
There's no police.
There's no police.
No one's going to arrest you. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to go back to my first one then. River Valley Glassworks.
This is one I kind of have had it's like one of those, you know, when a game kind of gets in your peripheral.
Yes.
And you're like, you haven't really focused on it, but it's like there, you recognize it, you sort of see it from the corner of your eye, and you're like, that's a game I probably ought to check out or know more about.
And you keep hearing a little bit of buzz about it.
Just a little bit.
Just enough to,
yeah.
And no one's like saying, oh, this is a great game. Well, yeah. This is a really good game.
Nice.
I very much enjoyed this.
You have played this?
I have played this. I very much enjoyed this game.
Nice.
This is, it's, how would I describe it? Your scoring is very unique. So let me explain the gameplay first. You have 2 options on your turn. You're either going to put a piece of glass in the river, and if you put a piece of glass in the river, then you can draw the glass that is in the tile that is either to your left or the right. Unless you're on the end and there's not a tile on the other side, then your options are very much limited. But then you're going to take all those all that glass off that tile, and you're going to put it onto your board. Now, the board goes from left to right. Everything builds from left to right.
So is the glass like floating down the river?
No, it's sitting in the riverbed, and you've panned it out, and you got some nice shiny glass that looks good, and you want to make jewelry out of it or something, or turn around and say my glass is more very valuable than your glass.
Okay,
but you got really cool glass.
Okay,
that's come down the road.
I am actually looking at pictures of it, and it does look like pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. So you have you're going to build your score from left to right, and if I recall, there is 8 columns.
5, 6, 7. I'm counting 7.
7 columns, and each column can only hold 1 color of glass. And if I recall right, there's 9 different colors of glass. So if you ever draw glass that you cannot put on your scoreboard, then it's going to go to your penalty pile, and I can't remember what that's called, but it's going to score, and I want to say it's -3 points for each piece of glass that you have there.
Ouch.
So you want to manage that very, very well. Now, each row that you go from left to right, you also are going to, whenever you collect an additional glass of that same color, you're going to go from bottom to top. And the higher that stack gets, the more points is going to be. And the further that column is to the right, the higher points you're going to score from that. So if you go for a common glass early on, and then that only goes up to, I think it's 14 points. Or if you get all the way to the right and you can climb that stack, you're getting like 45 points. And don't quote me on those numbers exactly, but it's something like that. But the further you are to the right, you want to build up. And then for each row that you are able to complete all the tiles, you're going to score more points from that as well. And then if you're getting low on glass that's in your hand, then you need to pull glass from the lake. When you pull glass from the lake, you're pulling 4 glass tiles, which are all set out there on the board, so you always know what they are. You can pull that glass and you'll bring that glass into your hand, and the glass that you bring into your hand, you're never going to place it. All that glass is going to be going into the river to pull glass out of the river. Any glass that you pull out of the river is going to go to your score. Anything that you pull out of the lake is going to go to your hand, and anything in your hand is only going to go to the river to get other tiles. So a lot going on there. Maybe not the best explanation to pick up via audio without any visuals here, but playing this game, it is very simple and very straightforward. You pull glass from the river, you put it onto your score grid, and you want to complete rows, and then you want to get your columns to grow on the furthest right that you can, and very quick, very easy, and a lot of fun. I very much like River Valley Glasswork, and so you should totally pull it off your peripheral and get it into your main view, because this is a great game.
I see what you did there. That was very clever.
Bring that into focus, maybe.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Excellent. No, I'm excited. Is this one you have on the shelf somewhere that I don't know about?
No.
Okay.
It'll be here tomorrow.
Okay. Excellent.
Yes.
Well, then I look forward to getting that to the table. Let me throw out my highlight there, and then you can come back to one of your others, because I know you had a couple on here you wanted to talk about. I have been playing more Slay the Spire.
This is a fun game.
Yeah, we talked about it before. I won't elaborate, but this is a really, really good game based on the very popular video game. It's a roguelike deck builder, and it just does deck building so incredibly well. It's really, really a lot of fun, and the cooperative nature of it makes it all the more fun. So I've been playing this with my son, and we've been running through some additional stuff. What I love about this is that the more you play, that you actually have a bunch of cards that you unlock and then introduce into the game libraries, like sort of the upgrade card decks that each character has. And so we've got almost everything unlocked, not quite, but we've just about unlocked everything. And then you can start unlocking some, like, they're technically called colorless cards that are really powerful. And then if you want, you can start to unlock the secret 4th act to the game. Ooh. And all of the ascendancy challenges. So we've been working our way through that a little bit. And I've played 5 or 6 games of this over the last couple of weeks. And it's just been a ton of fun. I still think my favorite character is the Defect. That was the one that you actually played at BryceCon, the one where you've got the different orbs that you're channeling, and you can evoke them, and just the general feel and play and upgrade ability of that particular character just feels really good. And no, this is a great game. I think everybody should check this game out. Even if you don't know anything about the video game, that's totally fine. If you enjoy deck building, and especially if you like cooperative games, you like both of those things together, this is definitely one that should be on your radar and one that you should check out. It's very good.
I agree. I've never played the video game, not familiar with any of the source material. I loved the game. The game was a blast.
Yeah.
So the other game that I wanted to talk about, and I'm only just going to mention it just briefly because I'm going to talk about it again when I get you and Andy to play that, and that is Dead Cells, which is also the roguelite board game.
I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm real excited. This has been on my radar. We were kind of talking about this before we sat down to record, and this is one that I totally would have bought if you hadn't.
Yeah.
So knowing that you bought it, I passed, but this was one that's been on my radar for a while.
Yeah. And I played through the first, they call them runs. And so each run is either fail the run and you start it over, or you complete the run and meet the boss and were able to take out the boss. So I played it solo, but I playing 3 characters. I didn't play through the solo variant. So I just played with 3 headless. That's what the characters are called. They're called the headless. Went through the first run and went through the prisoner cells. I can't remember what it's called. And then we went through, you have a kind of a rest in between where you can heal up and then buy some equipment. And then you go through the next, the stilt sewers. I can't remember what they were either. I probably should have had those names down before I started to talk about it. That's why I'm going to talk about it later.
Sounds really fun.
Yeah,
Nathan.
that one thing, and you do that other stuff. But then after the second leg of the run, then you're going to run into the boss. And I was really expecting to die, but I did manage to skim through just barely, which means it probably was playing something wrong. But I went back and reread the rules afterwards, and I don't think I missed anything. But very much enjoy this game. Looking forward to playing it with both you and Andy. Plays up to 4 players. Although I think 3 is the sweet number, because if you're playing with 4, then you run into the issue of in combat, one of the headless has to just watch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if you're involving 4 headless, then the balance is off with the bad guys. So only one character, one of the headless has to pass each round.
Okay. BGG is definitely saying it's a 1 to 3 player game, with 3 being the best.
Yeah.
As far as the community is concerned, it's not even a 4 player game. So yeah, I can see what you're saying there.
Yeah. So, but I'm very much looking forward to playing that with other people. We tried to play it last Thursday. I thought I had it all done, and then I hadn't opened the box yet. And so we opened up the box, and there's a lot of pre-game assembly, not assembly, but pre-game sorting. So I had to sort out all the cards into their different groups, and then all the pieces into their different realms. And so we didn't end up playing. We played Punch the Game. And
I've played that game before.
Yeah.
Sit down to learn something. You're like, oh, nope, we're not playing today.
Yep. But getting it to the table, I got it to the table that weekend and played through it, like I said, and I'm very much excited for this. And it'll be on our highlights again when I have played it with you and Andy. And it is something that I am very sure that you're going to very much love.
Excellent. Can't wait. Cannot wait.
All right. So we are still talking about modular games, modular boards.
Our top 5, in fact.
Our top 5, yeah. So we spent a lot of time discussing a wide variety of modular board games last week. This week, we are narrowing it down to 5 games each.
Excellent. I will get us started.
Sounds great.
My number 5, Dead Men Tell No Tales.
This is an excellent game.
I mean, I love this game already. But the way that the ship that you are, there is a name for the ship, and off the top of my head, I've forgotten what it is. But the way that you are, the way that the ship is constructed, and the way that it sort of gets sort of rolled out, and those tiles get flipped over as the game gets played, I absolutely love that. The fact that the game is just so great, but then it introduces all of that randomness with all of the different stuff that, I mean, everything in this is random, right? The doors where the little skeleton crew are coming up, where monsters are going to spawn, treasure checkpoint, like everything in here is just, it's going to be a totally different experience every time because of the modular nature of the game. You throw in that Kraken expansion, and this is just a winner chicken dinner, fun for everyone game every single time it hits the table. And the modularity has a huge part of that. So my number 5 is Dead Men Tell No Tales.
And the Kraken, I think, is a must when playing.
It's mandatory. It must be used. Yes, I totally agree.
So it's kind of funny. My top 5 has 3 games that I don't own.
I don't think that's funny. I think that's awesome.
Is it?
I'm looking over it. I guess
number 5, number 3.
Andy champions one of these, but the other 2 are ones that I own, if I'm looking at it right.
Nope. Number 5, I don't own. Number 3, I don't know.
Oh, they're Andy's.
And number 1.
Oh, okay. We'll get to it. But yeah, that is interesting that you don't own them.
So my number 1 is a John DeClaire game, Dead Reckoning. And this is a game that I would probably have owned if I could have found it at the time that didn't cost an arm and a leg. Because I think at the same time I spent my arm and my leg on Foundations of Rome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where my leg and arm went instead of Dead Reckoning. But this game it's a card crafting game, which John DeClaire does exceptionally well. I really like that it's is it a 12? I can't remember if it's a 12 card deck or a 10 card deck. But
pretty sure it's 10. Yeah.
But the fact that deck size never changes.
Yeah, it only gets stronger, right? You craft up those cards. You're not necessarily getting more cards into your deck.
Yeah. And the fact that you can choose to keep a card from hand to hand, so you can max out one card really quick. And then the big board where the dice tower that you're dropping in, that it spills out all the dice, or the cubes, essentially, not dice, but the cubes all spill out, and where they land on that attack board, it just makes this game phenomenal. And there's something about treasure and bearing it, but who cares about that when you got the other stuff that's so cool like that?
Amazing.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Maybe. But Dead Reckoning is an outstanding game, and a game that I don't own, but a game that was my number 5 modular board. And you talk about the modularity. I guess I should say, why is it a modular board? Well, the islands that you're going to go out and explore are all randomly done.
Right.
And the cards, the crafting cards that come out is all modular and randomly done.
Every game's different because
different.
Everything that you shuffle all that up before the game even starts, and there's a lot of exploration / discovery, which we love.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Dead Reckoning is a game that I really like it. I mean, it's very good, and I played it the one time, really liked it, and then we started playing there's kind of a campaign.
A small campaign.
Yeah, it's a really small campaign. We played like the first one of those and I won, and I was really excited to play the next one. It was one of those games that was like really gaining momentum as far as like my liking of it and wanting to play and all that. And then we just just crashed and burned, right? Like we never went back to it. I think Andy's played it since and everything, but like that group never got back together. We just stopped playing it. And so it's kind of just stagnated for me, right? Like even at this point, I'm like, do I really want to go back to it? You know, that kind of thing. It's great, but it's like, you know, those games, sometimes if you don't strike while the iron's hot, they lose their momentum.
Yeah, they do.
But it is a really good game, and I love the modularity of it. So I think that's a great pick. My number 4 is a game that me and my son just had an absolute party playing through. This is a game that I've really tried to champion. I think it's a little on the simpler side, and I think it's taken some hits for that, but I don't think it should scare anyone away if you like dungeon crawls and if you like the idea of a steampunk Egypt dungeon crawl. This is one that you should definitely check out. This is Arquise. And this is one that I crowdfunded a long time ago, and my goodness, the pandemic really messed this one up, and boy, did this take a long time to fulfill. I think we were waiting for this for like three years. It was a good 3 years before this finally fulfilled.
Or was it a bad 3 years?
well, that's a different conversation. But the reason that this made my list is because it does have all these it does have tiles, and it has these little trays. Most of the playing area that you play in are these like kind of trays. And what happens is you kind of put these two trays together, and then the doors that connect them sort of snap on, so it holds them together. And then there's information in that door when you finally get to the point where you want to open it up. You reference the book and you traverse through the dungeon. But what's really cool about this is that not only does it add sort of that 3D component with the really cool doors, there's a lot of the maps where you actually take those little trays and you flip them over onto their like upside down.
Oh, really?
And you build like ruins, like you build like Egyptian ruins out of them. So you flip it over and then you can stack the other one on top of it. And so you get these actually really fun sort of 3D, you get it's a cool 3D effect, right? And so as you're moving through the map and doing your stuff, you can use that, that height advantage. You can take advantage of that terrain and exploration. And it just feels kind of cool. It feels like, oh, hey, we're really delving, these ruins and exploring, and it kind of brings that to life, I think, in a really fun way. So
yeah, the table presence on this looks amazing.
Yeah, we played all the way through this and had a blast. I think it took, it was 12 or 13 games to play through the entire thing. It was so fun, and I do have a recharge kit for it. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I would love to be on your list of recharged.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a word, but it is now.
Yeah. Game that I thoroughly enjoyed that uses that modularity really well. Those trays, I think, were put to really great effect, whether they're upside down making the map or whether you turn them over and stack them up and create really cool ruins out of them. It just worked really well.
Excellent. That looks awesome. My number 4 is a game I do own, and a game you own, and a game Andy owns.
Excellent.
So that must mean that all of us like it. And that is Clink Catacombs. Clink Catacombs is, I very much enjoy the Clink games. This Clink is my favorite of the fantasy versions of Clink. I really hope at some point they try to do this with the Clink in Space version. But as it is, Clink Catacombs is probably my favorite version of Clink, just because it has all the elements that I like in Clink, but it produces that random discovery as you explore and sometimes get stuck in the deeps.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, just the ability to go down and the challenge of getting back up and maybe not necessarily having things go like you're planning, And
they almost never do for me.
Yeah, and that challenge that's there, Clank Catacombs is 2 thumbs up where it's at.
Excellent. Yeah, that's an awesome pick. And again, like not to overbeat that drum, but boy, the randomness. I mean, every time you flip one of those tiles over when you're going to go to explore a new one, it's just like, oh, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? What are you going to get? As you flip it over, and sometimes it's like, oh, this works so good. And other times it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with this?
Yep. And you get a real dead hand and you're like, well, that was nice, especially when it's right at the end and you're like, I need to get out.
Yeah. That's 100%. Yeah. Good pick. Good pick. My number 3 is another one that I put on here because it's a dungeon crawl, but it uses that 3D terrain to such awesome effect. This is Chronicles of Drunagor, Age of Darkness. And this is one where as you build out the map, it also uses
so cool,
really cool, like doors, right? It kind of has these little fold up doors that give you the next room. So you don't actually know what's coming until you kick down the door and go through and explore. And then it tells you how to lay it out. But this uses game trays. And so you have like in a lot of cases, you have like a water level or a floor level or both. And then you can go up a level and then you can even go up to a third level. And it's a dungeon crawl. So you're fighting enemies and you're doing all these things and you can use that, like your height, right? If you can take the high ground, you get some bonuses to your attack. If you're on the low ground, you're going to take some penalties, and it just uses that so well. Also, just with the way, like it actually has the way the trays come together. It has bridge pieces. So you'll be on one side over here, fighting guys, and then you'll go across the bridge and there's water underneath and everything. And you'll go on to the next tile and then that'll go up to another level. And just the way that all this lays out and works, it's beautiful. It works really well. And again, because it actually takes advantage, it's not just there to look good or to be aesthetic. It actually, has mechanical implications for how you play the game. Just works really, really good. I love the modularity of the boards, those game trays and everything, and how that works in Chronicles of Drunagor. Excellent game, and one that, again, it's one of those that I'm just chomping at the bit to get to the table. So you guys are going to really like this one. This is a great game.
Yeah. I mean, there's looking at these pictures for it, there's a ton of painted minis, which people have done a great job with.
Yeah.
But I want to see more of these game tray setups that just make it look pop. Just make it pop. That it looks so cool.
Yep. Yeah. And some of those maps, it's kind of fun because, you'll have some of it laid out on the table and then you go kick down a door and it's like, oh, you need to add all this stuff. And it's like, oh, I thought we were getting close. And then suddenly you've got a whole table full of extra stuff you got to lay out and the adventure continues. And it's just so fun. I really love the way that they did this.
Yeah. And the models look really good too, though. I don't want to discount the models since I was complaining about only seeing pictures of models, but
no, they're really good.
All right. My number 3 is another game I don't own, and this is Marvel Zombies, a Zombicide game. And this is one that is just hits at all levels for me. The boards, you're putting out maps, and so the modular boards, I mean, that's nice that you can use those modular boards to produce so many different maps and so many different scenarios, but the gameplay is what is phenomenal, and that modular of the swarms of enemies that can come out, that is just to the point where it feels so overwhelming. And it's always amazing that when we're able to clear a bunch of those out and sneak out a victory, but the joy that I experience playing this game is amazing. And I'm very much looking forward to the Deceased to see if that's going to, because each version of Zombicide that I've played, I have progressively increased my enjoyment.
Yeah, it's like it gets better and better.
Yeah. And so I don't know if I can actually handle another infusion of Zombicide that is going to be better, because I don't know if my my head's going to burst or something. But Marvel Zombies, a Zombicide game, is a great thing. In fact, at SaltCon, Andy ended up throwing out one of his other scheduled games because nobody had signed up for it, and threw in a second instance of Marvel's Zombies at SaltCon because there was so much interest in that there.
Yeah, I definitely get that. It's a really fun game. It's a great experience. And those tiles are fun, right? Like, 1 minute you're out on the the streets. The next you're in like a lab, like the mad scientist lab, and then the next you're in the X mansion. And you know they've done a good job, and they're pretty basic. I mean, all the Zombicide tiles are fairly simple. You know, they're all just squares that you put together for various effects and stuff. But the way that they've done the art on this one, I think works really good because they've created such a diversity of environments to play relative to other Zombicide games. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great pick. That'll take us to our number 2, which is a double crossover. Our favorite, or our second favorite modular board game is The Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. So
this is such a great game.
Yes.
I mean, it takes the story of Lord of the Rings and replicates not anything that's following necessarily any of the scripted stories that are out.
Yeah, this is not canon.
No, this is definitely not canon, but it feels like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yep.
And every essence, I mean, it's just dripping theme, and I love this game. Yeah.
And in particular, I really like the hex shape, you know, random hex tiles shapes to this. How do you explain that? You know, when a tile is made up of adjoining hex shapes, and that's what this does.
Right.
So a tile is not a hex, but it is a series of hexes in some kind of weird configuration.
The edges are hex shaped.
Yeah, the edges are.
Because the tiles themselves
do
not follow a hex.
100%. Yeah. That's a really good clarification. But the way that the app in particular sort of rolls these out, because, you know, you start a mission when you're first starting, you might have 2, maybe 3 of those laid out, and you're all there and you're starting your journey and you're going to explore and you're moving around and doing your thing. And then it's like, okay, now you need to add, these 2 tiles, and now you need to add these 3 tiles. And the way that you explore those tiles and the way that they come out, and, you just never know what you're going to get. And I love that. This game just has that exploration, discovery in spades, and it feels so thematic to Middle Earth, and it's just a blast. I love this. I mean, I've played this dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I'd have to check the app, but I know I've logged tons and tons of plays of this because me and my daughter would play this all the time. And this is just a fantastic game. It also has sort of those modular boards so you have kind of the world map and then you have the adventure map, and I really like how it uses those as well. So they're a little more simple, but again, they've got sort of the forest and the like stone side or whatever. And you can, they use those in different combinations to create different stories and scenarios and stuff.
Underground and
yeah. And I went through and printed all like 3D terrain for all the little cardboard pieces for that. So when we actually play like an adventure map, it's like a full 3D experience out on the table. So yeah, it's really fun. I mean, the game is great. Just full stop. It's just an awesome game. But yeah, the modularity of the tiles in particular adds so much to the experience.
Yeah, that's great. It is such a wonderful game. And I love that it is, it's not quite as unique as like Star Wars Imperial Assault, where all of the characters are not main characters, because you can still have some of the main characters as you can play, but there's other characters that are filler roles, I guess. I don't know what you want to call them. But some of those sub characters
definitely weren't in the book.
Yeah. But no, it's Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth is just outstanding. Outstanding indeed. And I almost wonder if I should have made it my number 1, because I look at my number 1. My number 1 is, are we on number 1?
We are so on number 1.
Okay. Am I first or was I second?
I started, but if you want to go for it, go for it.
All right. I guess I was really excited because...
do it. Hey.
But
like I said, there's no police.
No one's
going to arrest you. There's no fines.
There's no one's going to bust in the door and say, wait a minute. But my number 1 is Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. And the modularity on this isn't as steeped as it is like in Journeys in Middle-earth and some of the other games, but the replayability and the adaption that they use on these boards just leads to a lot of amazing experiences. And I think that's probably what made it my number 1, because emotional experiences with the game is probably what triggers me the most as far as saying, I really like that game.
Yeah.
Did I have fun playing it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Cause like you said, I mean, I think it's a little bit weaker on the modularity part of it. There are the maps. The main board is double-sided. And then you also have all the terrain and different, I mean, every mission, every battle, every boss battle feels sort of like a handcrafted map, right? So it definitely feels modular. It feels different. It feels unique every time you play it. But probably a little bit weaker on the modularity scale. But the game is just so good. And like you said, there's a real emotional connection to what's happening. And I was really excited we got this to the table recently. So we are slowly making our way through this. But we definitely need to do it again. So excellent. Good pick. My number one is Altiplano. I love this game. This is one that I wish that we got to play more. I've got this one tricked out. So we've talked about this in the past. Andy has more of a complaint with this game than I do in terms of its component quality. This does have some component quality issues. Now, I don't know, like every copy ever made by every, that's been shipped across the world. I don't know if they were all the same, but definitely Andy and I both got kind of poor copies of this. The cardboard wasn't very good and it was definitely fall aparty and it just didn't work.
Yeah, mine was the same. Yeah. And I ended up calling mine. Yeah, probably for that reason.
So I went and 3D printed a ton of stuff, right? The little wheelbarrows and carts and stuff. I did all of this. So I've got this totally tricked out. In fact, my daughter even painted most of it. So I've got a fully blinged out version of this. There's also a really great acrylic set that you can buy through BGG on the BGG store. So I've got that. So this is just a fun experience to have at the table. But I really love how every board does something different. Every board is a different piece of the puzzle, so to speak, as to like where you're moving your workers and what actions they're taking. It all gets randomized at the beginning of a game. And then you have to, part of the puzzle of the game is figuring out how I'm going to move from plateau to plateau, because that's what each board represents, is a different plateau where you can perform different actions and take different stuff. And so it's all about like efficiency on moving around those different boards and making sure you have enough movement to get to where you want to, deciding what order you want to take those actions in. The puzzle that is created by having all of this modular and randomized and set out on the table is one of my favorite experiences. I absolutely love it. So the game's great. It's a bag builder as opposed to a deck builder, and it does that really well. So it's already a good game with good components that I love to play, but then you add in all of that and the puzzle and the decision-making space that provides. Fantastic game. I love Altiplano. I wish we could play this one a lot more, because I
regret selling.
I push it every time I have the opportunity. Like, we should play Altiplano. We should play Altiplano. And the last time I got to play it was actually at MonCon.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's been a little while, but it's excellent. It's so good.
Now you make me want to play your version.
Yeah,
because your version sounds a lot more awesome than my version.
My version is a cool version. I do have to admit.
Yeah, that sounds way cool. But yeah, it does make me regret calling it, because it does spawn. I played it the one time and then it didn't give me the memories that I wanted, and my wagon kept falling apart. So, well,
speaking of games that didn't give you the memories you wanted that have wagons in them, we really need to play Merchants of the Dark Road again.
That dead air probably got edited out, but there was some dead air there. I would consider playing it again.
Stare. Yeah,
I would consider playing it again.
You should.
But
talk about another game that has amazing components.
Yeah, no,
my favorite metal coins of all time.
They were really good. Yeah. And it had that magnetic...
And the magnetic rondelle.
Rondelle. Yeah. And it has a rondelle. That's always nice, too.
So good. We just need to try... We need to play. This is a game. It's a game you're going to like. You just got to play it when it's not late.
Yeah. And I don't know. I still have a chip on my shoulder about the game itself.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
I completely get it.
But no, I probably should play it again for sure.
You should.
For the first time.
Just pretend you've never played it and that you're playing it for the first time.
Yeah, then I could get some excitement for it. Maybe I'd delete the old play out of my app, and so it counts as a new play. No, that doesn't work.
How could we implement it into your goals? Because if you implement it into your goals, you'd play it for sure.
Oh, I should play a game that I really didn't like. Because that's my motto, I'll try anything twice, because you might have been in a bad mood the first time.
Yeah, that's a good motto. I need to adopt that. So I've definitely had a few of those.
Yeah. So maybe I should. Maybe I should make a goal of playing 10 games that I wrote off because they made me sad on the inside. I don't know how I would classify that, but some games I need to revisit.
But all of these games that we talked about are definitely games we need to revisit because we loved them.
Yeah. So what's on your top 5? Let us know at meeplenation@gmail.com. Your top 5 modular game boards. Or games with boards. Modular boards.
Say it all again.
Stop. I'm just going to stop.
Sounds good. Until next time.
We'll see you trying to put together your outro at the game table. I don't know.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/MeepleNation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of Werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_nation. Or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.